we'll move to the next presentation, the last presentation for this forenoon session by Sri Ganesh Bhatji on the importance of Sātvika diet in the path of meditation.
Yeah, Namasabhaye. Sarvebhya Namaskaraha. So I am first of all, I'm sorry. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to present my paper in the forum of Indica. Here I am presenting the paper, Importance of Sātvika Diet in the Path of Meditation. Here I have taken Sātvika diet. Sātvika diet doesn't mean only Sattvic food, with that Mitahara also. So Mitahara, well supported by Sātvika diet. How this kind of diet practice will make us to reach the highest stage of meditation, which is Samadhi again. So here I have referred mainly Hatha Yoga Pradipika and Srimad Bhagavad Gita and some of the Yoga Upanishads also. So I'm moving on to the topic now. Here, majorly I have taken some of the key points, Nirbija Samadhi mainly, because every yogi's ultimate goal is to attain Samadhi. So the Samadhi, if we see the yoga, Samprajnata and Asamprajnata, two of them are there. The Asamprajnata Samadhi, which means Nirbija Samadhi, we know that, and I'm going to explain it in the later slides. And then yoga word, it's also a key word because how the yoga word has derived, that also to be explained. Somewhere yoga has mentioned as Samadhi itself, then how it is connected. So that's the reason yoga word also one of the key word. Then Chitta Bhumis, there are 5 Chitta Bhumis and some of the Chitta Vrittis. What are the differences between Chitta Bhumi and Chitta Vrittis? So these points have been taken. And Gunas, why I have mentioned Gunas here? Because the yoga philosophy and Sankhya philosophy, both of them are just 2 phases of a single coin. They start with the Prakriti only. Prakriti doesn't mean 3 gunas. That's the reason Sātvika, Rajasika and Tamasika. These 3 gunas are together called Prakriti. That's the reason Guna also will take a major point over here. Then, of course, my paper itself is related to food or the diet practice. That's the reason Sātvika food, Rajasika food and Tamasika food. This is how all these many words are the major keywords in my paper. So the first point is yoga. The word yoga has derived from the root yuj, samadhyartaka yuj dhatu. So the yuj dhatu, when it will get connected with the suffix gan, then the word will be, as a result, the word yoga will be produced. So then what are the synonyms? So there are many synonyms in different koshas. We can see the different synonyms. Mainly, many koshas like Vachaspatyam or Shabda Kalpadruma, they have said Dhyanam is one of the major synonym for this word yoga. And then Samadhanam. Samadhanam is also one of the synonyms. See, here in Viveka Chudamani, we can see that Samyak Asthapanam Buddhehe Shuddhe Brahmani Sarvada Tat Samadhanam Ityuktam Natu Chittasya Lalanam. We should not pamper our mind. Wherever mind will go, we should not move back to it. But we need to control the mind. Then we can attain the ultimate peace or the ultimate samadhanam. That's the reason the samadhanam itself is samadhi. This is also one of the meanings for this word yoga. So Ganesh, as we know, yes sir.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes sir.
Directly connect to the Sātvika ahara or the ahara portion. It will be very specific. If you can move to that. Because
yes sir, surely.
The introductory dimension of dhyana, yoga, we have already heard, and many of us are in the participants are well aware of the background information. So
yes, surely, sir.
It's good if you can directly focus on your main topic, that is ahara. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to Mitahara now. So Mitahara and Sātvika diet, both of them are highly recommended for a yogi. As I mentioned in the beginning, Mitahara concepts have taken from Yoga Upanishads as well as from Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And Sātvika diet, Sātvika Ahara has taken from Bhagavad Gita in this paper. Here, the Hatha Yoga Pradipika clearly mentions that Atyahara or overeating is going to prevent a yogi from his practices, or one of the major factors out of 6 which are mentioned in Hatha Yoga Pradipika. So, the mitahara. So here, one more point I need to mention here. Generally, there are 5 yamas or 5 niyamas according to Patanjali Yoga Sutra. But when we see the Yoga Upanishads, then there we find that there are 10 yamas and 10 niyamas. And one of the yamas is moderate diet or mitahara. That's the reason mitahara has become a major or the very beginning step for a yogi. So, what is this mitahara then? So the food which harms one's metabolism to be avoided, and the fresh and sweet food to be taken. So here, the half of our stomach or 50% of our stomach to be filled with mitahara, well supported by Satvika food, because some of the foods which are good for our metabolism, but that might not be a Satvika diet. That's the reason the mitahara to be well supported by Satvika diet, and 25% of our stomach to be filled with water or liquid food, liquid food practice, and 25% of our stomach to be left free. Then this kind of practice itself is called mitahara. So here, the Hatha Yoga Pradipika has listed out some of the prohibited foods, which kind of foods not to be consumed or not recommended for a yogi. I have listed them. Kindly go through. There, bitter, sour, pungent, salty, these kind of foods not to be taken, and some of the vegetables also. Only some of the vegetables. Some vegetables are accepted. The list of the accepted food and non-accepted food in the vegetable category, that is also mentioned there. Here, the yogi's food practice should be very simple. It should not shoots up the acidity or some ill health or digestive disorders, etc. So here, mainly the aphrodisiac foods like asafoetida or garlic, onions or local masalas, these kind of foods are not recommended. Why is the question? Because these kind of foods will create some bodily pleasures in our mind. That's why some hormones related to that will be produced. Then the sexual fantasies will be generating in our mind, which will make us move away from the yoga path. That's the reason these kind of foods are strictly prohibited in mitahara concept. And then the relevant foods. So then what kind of foods can be consumed by a yogi? So they have mentioned many of them: the wheat, rice, barley, milk, etc. So here, the 5 leafy vegetables which are quite relevant now. So the leafy vegetables, the names are mentioned in Gheranda Samhita, like balasaka, kalasaka, patola patraka, etc. So they are similar to today's spinach maybe. These kind of food practices should be enough for a yogi, because yogi is not there to eat something and develop his body, but he is just maintaining his body. His body maintenance will happen by eating these kind of foods, and these kind of foods are going to supply very essential carbohydrates or vitamins, etc. By this, he can maintain his body, and he can continuously meditate on, and spiritual evolution can happen very easily. That, and moreover, the wheat, I mean to say godhuma and yava, all these things, what are the qualities of these kind of foods? It's mentioned in Ayurveda as well. Then the intoxicating foods like alcohol practices, these kind of practices are strictly prohibited in Hatha Yoga, because the intoxicating food can kill the cells of brain and liver. These cells, they cannot grow themselves or they cannot develop themselves. So once one cell of a brain is dead, which means it's dead, that cannot be reproduced again. So that's the reason these kind of foods are prohibited. And here in this slide, what you're seeing, these kind of foods to be consumed, and which is recommended for a yogi also. And one more question will arise over there: if at all a yogi doesn't consume any food and continues his sadhana, then what would happen? There we can refer Chandogya Upanishad. There in 6th chapter, where Tattvamasi concept is being explained. There, the Shvetaketu son will come and ask the small stories there, anyways. So an experiment will be done on Shvetaketu himself. After fasting for 15 days, he'll come back, but he cannot recollect any of the mantras or any of his academics, which he has studied in Gurukulam for 12 or 13 years. So which means, if there is no food, then our smarana shakti would go. That's the reason not eating, the fasting continuously, that also might not be an appropriate practice for a yogi. Then, yeah, process of meditation again. I'll connect this one and I'll finish. So there are, as we know, there are three things: dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. There are three antaranga yogas. So dharana, which means desha bandha chittasya dharana. So where we are going to put our mind, that's what dharana. And dhyana, the continual process, that is called dhyana. And samadhi, and finally we are going to achieve something, that is samadhi. Here I can take a concept of pretend. So instead of focusing our mind on something like Ishtadevata or sun god, so these kind of things can be the beginning steps to practice meditation. But if I'm practicing on the word Aham Brahman, so Aham Brahman itself is my desha. So on that particular desha, I'm focusing on, the dharana is happening. Then I need to tend on that. I need to continually thought the same concept. So which means I need to shun the thoughts which will come and interrupt me from that Aham Brahman concept, I am Brahman concept. So which means the dharana, it will move like Taila Dhara, which is explained in again Yoga Sutra. So the dhyana is continually processing on. And finally, I will end myself in Om, the Samadhi. So this is how dharana, dhyana, and samadhi will happen very easily. To attain the ultimate state of meditation, which is nirbija samadhi, the basic step, which is our food practice, that should be appropriate. Then I can attain the ultimate state of samadhi. This is all about my paper in one line, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ganesh Bhatji. It was a very good attempt. But much more textual inputs, for example, in the Yoga Upanishads and the commentaries of Yoga Sutra, and then the Jyotsna commentary of Hatha Yoga Pratipika has much more inputs on mitahara and other ahara related dimension, and also the dhyana and the ahara, how they are interlinked, could have been highlighted better, but this can be taken as a good beginning. I wish you all the best.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.